Mike from around the world.
Anybody home?
Yes, we're here.
Oh, there you are, Pastor Paul.
How you doing,
You're not
Mike?
going to believe this, but everything is getting in the way. Something does not want me to ever talk the Paul Begley prophecy.
Folks, Mike from around the world is with us, of course, from COT, the worldwide network, and great people. And everywhere we go, Mike, everywhere we preach, everywhere I go, COT members show up. They always show up and walk up and say, we listen to you all the time over at COT. So you're doing a great job. And hey, praise God. No, the devil doesn't want you to talk on Paul Begley prophecy. Are you serious?
No, he doesn't. You know, right now I was listening to your show. I began listening about 15 minutes ago. At the 17-minute mark, phone calls started coming in.
Okay. Well, there's
So I just had to, that's impossible. That's crazy.
That's how it works. Hey, before we get into the 5 ways of energy, which and some of the effects and get an update on it, can we talk about Iran? And, we got this information. Iran fires off this missile. This is the second time they've done it. Sunday night, they fire off a missile, another intercontinental ballistic missile capable to have a warhead put on it, nuclear if they wanted to. Trump put them on notice. Congress is talking about putting sanctions on Iran, new sanctions. And Trump has sent a Navy destroyer, the USS Cole, to the region just off the coast of Yemen to patrol there because the Houthi rebels have attacked already a Saudi Arabian ship. 2 people were killed in that. So tensions, we're getting a war of words also between Trump and the Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. So can you help us understand what's going on right now out there in the Middle East and with Iran in particular?
Well, speaking of Iran, these last and continued tests, right, that people are able to see that they're actually advertising, is a coordination attempt. It is when Iran is ready to, let's say, to have a military op. When they're ready to have a military op, they must demonstrate to their allies they are ready, that they can coordinate. Here's how it works. Let's just say North Korea was waiting on Iran to have or to demonstrate launch capability in view of the world, right?
Right.
So instead of talking to North Korea directly, they allow these stories to be reported. So they do something out in the open. Everybody spends it the way that they can, but the true reason is a demonstration to allies across the waters because everybody's controlling communications, right?
Okay.
So what better way than to talk to your ally than with a public demonstration? And so many things are happening for coordination purposes.
Okay. So you're saying that there, and Mike, are you up as high as you can go, Mike? I got you cranked as high as I can.
I am.
Okay.
I am.
Okay. Sorry about that, guys. I've got him cranked as high as he can go. And I've got the speakers as close as I can for YouTube. I know they can hear you pretty good over on Paul Begley Prophecy. We can hear you really well. Also at Blog Talk Radio, we can hear you really well there. YouTube a little low. We're so sorry. Doing the best I can. Go ahead, Mike. So you're saying they got to show they are ready.
Yeah, these are coordination messages. Is what they're very bold coordination messages. And so here's the bad part, though. When they begin to do this, and it's a tactic. It's actually one of their intelligence service tactics. When they begin to demonstrate this, another country will respond. Now, that's what you look for. When the other country responds, then you know who the allies are. They're going to coordinate like this, and then one of these times it will not be a test. It won't be a test. Now, one of the critical components to this is, when will it be for real? Because I can assure you that one day it won't be a test. It's going to be for real. Another strategy is that if a country tests things like this all the time, right? The other countries cease to go on alert. When that happens, they know the other countries cease to go on alert, so they think what they're doing is futile. Take like North Korea. North Korea does all these little launches, but no one goes on alert for their tests. Not anymore. They used to. They've been doing it for so long, nobody thinks they would ever, be stupid enough to launch something to us. They launched satellites. Right? So then the second time they tried this, nobody went on alert. Right? So now that nobody goes on alert, they're not going to activate the defense net, and so one of these times it's going to be for real. In which case we can easily be caught off guard.
If North Korea certainly has the capability of hitting Japan, or certainly hitting South Korea next door, but Japan seems like a target. They certainly could hit Guam. They certainly probably could hit even the western coast of America. That may not be as easy, but where do you feel that the biggest danger is when it comes to North Korea? What nation is in the most vulnerable position?
Well, let me expose a lie real quick, and it's propaganda. The media is what it is. North Korea launched a satellite into space, did they not?
Yes, they did.
A probe.
Yes.
Any country who can launch a probe into space can hit any landmass on the face of the earth. See, that's what people don't ever put together. You have to reach our terminal point in the atmosphere to launch anything in space. It effectively has to go up in the upper atmosphere to do that. And so because they're able to do that, they can absolutely use that same launch vehicle to launch a nuclear warhead anywhere on the surface of the earth. Remember, the United States, back in the day, what were they saying on the news? Since 2009, North Korea has been a year away from having launch capability to reach everywhere, right?
Right.
So then in 2010, they're a year away. In 2011, they're a year away. Everybody is a year away. This is how they stall the inevitable. And it's only in the minds of those who listen. Last year, what were they saying about North Korea? They're a year away from having a deadly weapon. This year, they tried to utter the same thing, but certain folks said, no, that's not true. They said this 5 years ago, just like Iran saying that they would be in a breakout moment within a year, right? Well, that year has been carrying on every year. They use this for a political ploy, but the people don't know they already have broken out. They already have broken out. And so what they're doing is they're utilizing this time to coordinate. And so those who believe in their own policies are being effectively, they're just being beguiled, because Iran is much farther than what we think they are. That's why they're doing what they do. They have tested our Navy. The Navy didn't do anything, right? They didn't do anything. They just bombarded our naval forces twice. They ran them out of the Persian Gulf. They did this before, and what did we do? We did nothing. They were testing us to see how far we would go. Now, I can assure you with that mindset, they can easily surprise America. We are going to find ourselves in a position where we have been taken advantage of. And right now is the time that people open their eyes. Certainly in the current administration, they can't take any chances. They're going to have to do the undoable, which the people will not agree with.
So
they're not going to agree with it.
So you're saying that when President Donald Trump does what most of the media and a lot of folks are not going to like, and that is take control of the situation that is already out of control with Iran and North Korea. When he steps up and says no and puts his foot down, and there might even be a confrontation, the media and everybody's going to call him a warmonger. They're going to say he's a loose cannon. They're going to go after him. When the truth is, the Obama administration was purposely giving these guys all the leeway they needed to advance their agenda. And isn't it true that they're demonizing the Russians a little overboard here when the real danger may be Iran or North Korea?
Well, you know what? To your first point, every time a Democrat comes in power, what do? They further other countries because they believe in doing things by talking. But also, the Democrats also stand for a different ideology than what most people are used to, which always puts Republicans in danger. The Republicans always have the unfortunate job of going to war.
Right. Yes, they do.
Every single time they have to go to war, right? Yeah. Because the Democrats believe in sitting at the table, at the political table and talking things out. They believe in a political resolve. The Republicans believe in a forceful actions to expose what the political agenda is of other nations. So this current administration has a very dangerous but obvious job. They're going to have to implement some things. Now, the problem this time is this. The entire Democratic establishment, which is much more than people think, stands against the Republican establishment.
Yeah.
Because they are bitter right now. They're bitter. You can see this in the people. You can always gauge the party by the people.
Yeah.
If the people are bitter.
They're bitter.
They're bitter at one another. So what does that mean? That means this administration is going to be pressed into a corner, which will change the very, I know people don't want to hear this, Pastor, but if the Christians do not pray now and be obedient to the Lord, we messed up the first time, let's not mess up this time.
Right.
Pray for our leaders. What's going to happen is if we don't pray, that the current administration is going to be pressed into a corner. They're going to change right before everybody's eyes, and they're going to become the very thing we detest the most.
Yeah, if we don't pray,
nobody's going to be left.
You're right. This is why people have to pray for leaders, because the pressure, no matter how goodwill people have, no matter who it is, when you're put in a pressure situation in a corner, you may have to compromise here or there, trying to avoid the ultimate confrontation that you don't want, that none of us want. So we have to pray. This is what, and look at David never wanted to fight. King David did not want to fight, but he was constantly pushed into battle, constantly forced into confrontation that he had to, or the nation of Israel would have been eliminated or devastated, I should say. Never eliminated, but devastated and issues. So your point is we have to constantly pray. It's good to see the president praying. Before the Supreme Court justice decisions, great to see the president, the vice president, with the Supreme Court justice, Neil Gorsuch, praying in the White House. I think it's just great. I think it's wonderful. But we can't let up now. It's really going to get intense. So your opinion is that North Korea and Iran are going to wear everybody down with their little testing. But one day, all of this is setting up for the ultimate move to strike. That's your opinion?
Yep, that's my opinion. Also, it is my opinion that Russia is going to be caught off guard from this strike. Now, people have said many things about Putin, about Russia, right? But they have the same characteristics of all countries. We have nationalistic pride, do we not?
Yes, we do.
So Russia also has a nationalistic pride, which means that, hey, we know what we're doing. We don't need anybody else's input. The problem is the Iranians are so unstable and so quick to change that Russia will naturally be caught off guard. Before they know it, half of the weaponry that Iran has from Russia, because Iran is effectively a part of Russia right now. Many people don't understand that, but they are. This is why Russia's defense network protects Iran. Iran could effectively launch at any nation in the world, and no one can penetrate that defense net. Now, they don't want to tell the people this, because if Iran were so dangerous, why didn't we go in there aforetime and just diminish these things?
Because of the Russians.
We can't go in there.
Because of the Russians.
We can't do it.
No.
That's right. We are unable to penetrate that defense net. You're talking about lives lost on a scale that this world has not seen.
Right.
And so that's a very unstable nation. But Russia is going to be forced. It is my belief they're going to be forced. When we are caught by surprise, so will they. And we're going to be forced to work together to overcome this Middle Eastern evil.
I agree with you.
That is my opinion.
I agree with you. And matter of fact, and I get is that simply this. This Middle Eastern evil is so evil that Russia wants to further their interests. We want to further our interests. The Canadians want to further their interests. The Australians want to further their interests. I mean, the British want to further their interests. This is all normal. It's okay. But there's an evil that is so wicked coming out of the Middle East. And at some point, they could strike to the point that Russia, America, and everyone else lays aside their differences and says, we have to stomp this out now, or none of us are going to do very well. So you're right about that. I mean, I totally agree with you. And I think it's good that Trump and Putin are talking. I mean, Lord have mercy. You don't want them hating on each other. You want them talking. There's too much danger. There's too many nukes. There's just too much power, so you they may not agree, and there's gonna be scuffles. There's gonna be some elbowing, but at the end of the day, they're talking. And that's important, isn't
it? Yeah, it is. Inevitably, but I'll say this again, if the Christians, if I'll put it this way, if this administration, because we messed up on the last few, in my opinion, because we're Christians, if this administration fails us as Christians, it's because we spiritually failed them.
Right. I agree. We got to pray.
The only way they can fail is because we fail.
We got to pray. We prayed the change that we've got. Now we got to pray for the protection and the ultimate advancement of good. The battle's not over. Okay, the battle's not over. And I've been saying that you can see it, the seething, the what happened at Berkeley the other night. Well, some of this stuff in the airports, some of the stuff you're seeing is in the media, and these guys not showing up to vote, just boycotting. I'm talking Congress and senators, and House of Representatives. I mean, a lot of this stuff is just spillover reaction, bitterness, as you call it, childishness, I'll call it. And at some point, people have got to get their head on straight and understand that there are real dangers in the world, and that we got to move forward. All right, you got a new boss. You got another new boss, and that's the new Secretary of Defense, General Mattis, Mad Dog Mattis. Tell me, tell us what this means.
Well, his career is black and white. That general, by the way, he's familiar with CENTCOM, NORTHCOM, all these different commands. And so he's black and white, meaning that, that he really knows how to win a battle, but he also knows that stalling, if you stall time in a battle, that will inevitably come. You defeat your own forces. So that means he's got a fast trigger hand, right? He will not hesitate to commit things. And Donald Trump, now you have to understand something. Donald Trump is a businessman, right? But the reason he got the people he has is because he's not familiar with, let's just say, politically forceful actions, right?
Right.
Because some of these events in the world cannot be resolved by politics. And war being that extension of politics by these forceful things, well, then we're going to have a time on our hands, and it's forming. Because all these nations, they have been against us, but they've been lying at the table. kind of like that scripture in the book of Daniel. They tell lies at one table. That's what they've been doing.
Yeah.
They absolutely stand against one another, and all things are going to be exposed. And that general will not hesitate but to commit forces. And he also has a talent for conveying something in a type of urgency and so straightforward that it's not laden with political jargon and garbage.
Right.
So that if he ever determines, hey, we've got to go and we have to go now, the articles that he will put forth, everybody will be able to read, and they'll normally get behind it and say, yes, we do. Right? But understand something. Before a war, to really justify a war, there will be death. There will be death. Because normally in war, and people don't know this, a lot of people will fold their arms and not do anything and let a lot of people die so that the American people will not fight against the war. They don't want the American people to fight against the war. So it is essential before you go to war that the American people jump behind the war.
Right.
Kind of
right.
like 9/11.
Right.
Prior to 9/11, everybody said, no war. As soon as 9/11 happened, everybody wanted revenge. They didn't care how, when, or where, who was committed. They wanted revenge. After they received their revenge, guess what they said? Well, we shouldn't have gone to war. This is how quick people change.
Right.
It's how quick they change. The Republicans have the unfortunate duty of doing this. Political talk has not worked. It's only furthered the agenda of the outside of these alienated, or let's just say outside alliances that people think are real and they're not. And it's caused people to go forward in their own agendas. This will culminate in a very destabilizing event for the world. This, in conjunction with natural disasters, it just doesn't look good. And so all precautions and seriousness should be taken by everybody right now.
Mike,
and again, if the Christians do not stand, nobody's going to be left standing.
Mike, is war with Iran inevitable in this first term under President Trump?
Patrick, you know what? I'm not qualified to say first term, but I can tell you this. It will be unexpected. It could happen this week. It could happen in a few hours. It's going to be unexpected. North Korea has clearly sided with Iran. Many people don't know this, but they've been trading under the noses of the UN. Equipment taken across the ocean. And so they're going to coordinate their strike together.
That's amazing. These two bedfellows. I mean, for instance, the Iranians, their eschatology, their eschatology is apocalyptic. They believe they need to exterminate Israel. They believe they need to blow it up, wipe it off the face of the earth. They say the very words that's found in Psalms 83. And their ideology is through much chaos, Allah will send the 12th Imam, the Allah Mahdi or Mahdi, and that's how, and he'll bring Jesus with him, and then they'll fix the world. That's really what the radical Shiite Muslims believe in Iran. A majority of the country believes that. Now, North Korea is a totally different bird, a wild card. The guy doesn't believe in anything. He believes he's God. But the two of them together are wanting to create chaos, and that's why they, I guess in your opinion, it's why they would work together. And I know they're working together. I know you're right. They are trading. There's scientists from North Korea that have showed up. Matter of fact, and the Mossad from Israel has killed and assassinated quite a few of these scientists from North Korea that have been in Iran, in Tehran. There's been assassinations going constantly there as they've been trying to gather information from the North Koreans. So you're saying that, right? The United Nations, I mean, what a worthless situation there. They're not doing anything. They're allowing these guys. They're emboldening them. And I think the Iranian nuke deal that Obama and John Kerry and the other nations that participated in, all this did was give Iran, just empowered them. Am I right?
Yeah, we've been negotiating is what we've been doing. You know, America stands to be a standard bearer. We've not been doing that. We've not been a standard bearer. Yeah. What has happened is everybody believes in their own ideology. So then the original formation of the United States in the first place is lost in translation. and it cannot come back lest all things be undone and redone again. Well, we all know the end story of that because that's in prophecy. There'll be another kingdom set up. But where we are at now is that most people are blinded. They do not believe. Most people right now do not believe a war is imminent. They don't. And that's going to be the downfall, because if we don't believe it, we're not going to be prepared for it. If we're not prepared, it's going to cause shock and awe. If it causes shock and awe, many people will be displaced. They will be in turmoil and hopeless. And at that time, they will accept anything that gets them out of the hopelessness. This is the type of society that exists today, because most of the kids, they don't know about hard work or anything else. They know about what they want. All these electronic devices have caused the society to become a society of demand. If they can't get it, they're your enemy. If you can give it to them, they'll put up with you for the moment. This also causes a very weak nation. We've stepped far away from the roots of this nation. No one wants to do hard work in this generation. It is unknown because most of the money is made by typing. It's a sad thing. We're going to be unprepared. We are grossly negligent in quite a few things as a nation, right? It's one thing to be hopeful that the nation prepares itself, but what I continue to have to say is this. If we don't step in and do something, those people who know the values of hard work and everything else, if we don't step in, right, and turn this bickering that we see in the public, and somebody step out there and be a peacemaker in the spiritual sense, and to get these people to see straight, right, then we have effectively failed our own nation.
Right.
We have, because if this nation falls, it's our fault, not their fault, because the Lord hears our cries. He hears our prayers, not theirs. And so if we fail to do that, then how can he intercede? He will not, because he already said so.
Right. Folks,
so while this is happening, while all the Christians stand against each other, Pastor, can you see that the entire world has been supporting Muslim propaganda?
Oh, yes, I can see
prophecies.
it.
Can you see this?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's been going on. It's unbelievable. And the mainstream fake news media, that's all they ever do is promote this. And it's unbelievable how they have promoted this propaganda of hate, this propaganda of wickedness. Real quick here, folks. Last night there was, there was an explosion at a cheesecake factory in Pasadena, California. A guy went in with a homemade explosive device inside a crowded restaurant at the Cheesecake Factory last night, and he detonated it. It created heavy smoke that went off inside the Cheesecake Factory. Nobody was injured. Good news. Nobody was injured. And so it's going to be okay. And that's LA Times reporting on this morning. But, these are the kind of things it's just not good. It's not good to happen. Mike, let's shift gears a little bit. Let's talk about the 5 waves of energy. Energy wave number 2. We're in the middle of it. I think you said it's quite a while. The density of it. And just a couple hours ago, we had an earthquake, Mike. Yellowstone, Montana, earthquake, 3.4, right on the super volcano. So here we go. What is happening now? I mean, we've had several quakes initially when that wave came. We had some 7.9, 7.8. We had the Italy earthquakes, killed over 300 people. We've had some Italy earthquakes today. So, Mike, give us an update on this second wave of energy.
Right now on the scale of things, we're at a 0.3, 0.25 is where we're at, right?
On a scale 1 to 10?
It's going to rise this year to a 20. We're at 0.3. It's going between 0.3 and 0.25 of an energy flux coming in, right? This year, we're going to entertain a 20. Now, it's at 0.3. And it's certainly causing the earth, the magma to become very active. In fact, we were talking about Italy the day that the wave came, because there are quite a few of us that were kind of tense looking at something in Italy, something that people don't know about. I know that everybody thinks that the Yellowstone caldera or Yellowstone, that big vault of magma is a troublesome type thing, but I can assure you that Italy has something far bigger. Now, it's not spoken of to a large degree, right? It's just not spoken of. But in that isle of Corse, Corsair, or whatever you want to call it, right? That's south of Genoa. These places around there are, they are. Well, that's just bad because that's one big accident.
What are you saying? Are you saying Are you saying under Italy there's a super volcano also under Italy, central Italy?
Oh, part of that rim. Here's part of the rim, right? Is that would be Barcelona, from Barcelona all the way up to Switzerland, near Turin, right, in Milan. All the way to, Bologna. Yes, there's a place called Bologna. And all the way down to Naples. So you're looking at a rim all the way around there. It goes inland. If that thing blows, then there's truly no escape for anybody. But here's the worst part. I was understanding prophecy. If that thing blows, the entire northern hemisphere is going to be black with smoke.
Ash.
Black with smoke. Just the blackest black you've ever seen in your life. It's going to be bad. And so that thing is rumbling. It is rumbling. If I were anybody out there, I would send a few prayers to Italy. And so, because this, I said that before. We were talking about that right before that earthquake hit. But guess what? We were trying to see would any of the scientists pick it up. Now, the French scientists were silenced, because they can be killed for false calls, and they were so scared of saying something false like that, right? But it happened anyway. Right now, today, things are too quiet. See, a lot of people believe this, that when it's a bunch of earthquakes, they say, oh, something bad is coming, right? That's not true. When it's very little earthquake activity, that's when the pressure builds up in the earth, and the plates will start to break. The greater the quiet time, right? The more the quiet time, the more expanse, or the time differential between the quiet time, will add up more pressure in the place, and that's where you have the big ones. And this, in conjunction with the expansion of magma inside of the earth, right? People are going to see that more and more. They're going to say, we have a magma issue, right? Because all these ancient places that were supposed to be dormant are now filling up.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be good. That's more earthquakes. This is happening with a 0.3, 0.25. Because it's
now when you just so our listeners can understand, when you say a 0.25 on a scale of 1 to 10, a scale of what?
No, on a scale of 1 to 40.
Okay, on a scale of 1 to 40.
On a scale of 1
to 40.
It is
a 2.5 to 3 to point, so a 0.25 or 0.35, we've been in that range of pressure from this second wave of energy. You're saying sometime this year it's going to spike to a 20.0.
Yes.
That is huge.
See, because right now it's not even on the scale, but it's making changes. And that's why I said last year, there'll be no need to talk about waves or proving anything, any troubles to anybody. It's going to become painfully obvious. Now, I know a lot of people are in the mindset, well, I just want to see. No, you do not want to see. We're going to entertain some things that really take a toll. And when that begins to happen, right, all the scientific proof in the world is not going to make a difference, because people are going to say, I'm thirsty. I need to find something, some food. What's happening to everything around here? Why are my crops dying? Things of that nature. And it will continue to escalate.
Well, let me ask you a question. When you say that, what's going to cause the crops to die? Is it radiation? Are we going to have a spike in radiation? And here's another question. We did capture some of this second wave of energy. I mean, BP Earthwatch did. The magnetosphere moved off the charts. Dutch Sense captured it. But what was that? If we're at 2.5 if we're at 0.25 or 0.35 now, what were we in December when we captured those waves and we saw some earthquakes around 7.9, 7.8, Italy's quakes? So what were we there? Because I know it's fluctuating as we're going through this wave.
That was a lip. That's what's called a lip. That was the front-facing lip of this influx. That's what that was, and it's very tiny. That was like a point 0.6 or 7, somewhere around there in the scale. So that 0.6 or 7 dropped out to a 0.3. Now I know that this month, in the month of February, it will spike up sharply. Another shock wave is due this coming month coming up. So we'll have another shock wave. Now it is calculated. I'm saying calculated. It is calculated to be about a 3 or 4.
That's pretty big.
Month.
That's huge.
Sometime during this month. Yeah, it is about a 3 or 4. Now, one of the issues is this: the sun is certainly being affected by this, and radiation levels of the Earth are certainly increasing. But the Earth is absorbing an extraordinary amount of radiation, pumping it inside the Earth. It absorbs radiation to sustain life on the Earth. Now it's sucking in too much, because on magnetic field lines, charged particles follow magnetic field lines like they're highways, and they're going right inside the North and South poles, right?
Right.
During this time, that's why a lot of things are get back from the North and South poles. This influx of radiation is doing something that, well, you really can't discuss it now without a premise, but let's just say that the Earth is being fed with an enormous amount of power, right?
Radiation.
So then this will continue to build. The problem is going to be, even with all the rain we've had, the Earth is going to heat up from the inside out, which means crops will begin to fail. Dryness will continue. Lakes will continue to dry up. We're going to entertain some times this year where a few lakes just vanish. They're going to vanish.
And we've had that.
Underneath them, the ground is just going to be
We've
gone.
had that. You know, Mike, in the last...
So they will just go away.
In the last 5 years, we've had that happen. We've had lakes disappear. Different parts of the world, they've just disappeared. People go to bed one night, wake up the next day, the lake is gone. It just goes into the ground. The sinkholes are certainly increasing, opening up everywhere, and cracks in the earth is definitely taking place. And volcanic eruptions are spewing everywhere. There's more volcanoes right now active than ever before at one single time. So these are all effects of this wave of energy that you've been talking about. And you're telling us, folks, on a scale of 1 to 40, we're right now at a 0.25. Not even a 1. 0.25. But Mike is saying that sometime in the month of February, before this month is over, we are going to see a spike of 3.0, 3 or a 4. That is a significant wave of energy. They'll probably capture some of these things. The core of the Earth is heating up. The outer core, we've heard BP Earthwatch is talking about this constantly. And also the magnetosphere is being affected. The sun is being affected. Even though we're in a solar minimum, we're experiencing solar streams and solar wind speeds of, again, over 750,000 kilometers a second. These are things that are really not supposed to be happening right now. So you're saying this is going to be a volatile year. You're talking about crops dying, lakes disappearing this year. You're saying this year that there's a time coming. Is that? Can you tell us when? If February is going to see a 3 or 4, when do you expect this spike of 20.0?
I'm looking for that during a 4-month time gap. I'll put it this way. When it goes up to a 20, prior to that time, people are going to know for a fact something has gone wrong geologically. I'll put it that way. The Haiti earthquake, the Chile earthquake, all those are coming back again because the expansion is so incredibly, it's powerful. Pastor, let me put it to you this way. Everybody trusts in oil. Let me tell you what happened in certain places I will not mention. The magma came up, and what it did to the oil was to simply consume it out of the earth. It consumed a large portion of the oil in a certain place out of the earth and carried it away. It just absorbed the whole thing and the gas that was with it. So one day in this certain place, people were pumping massive amounts of oil, and they had natural gas in certain places. The next day it was gone. It was just gone. They weren't pumping anything. It was gone.
And you're saying it's because the magma came up and just consumed it, and it's gone. And
That's right, it just consumed it.
So somewhere in the world this is happening.
That people are not counting on.
Right. What about asteroids? We're hearing, Gil Broussard was on a couple days ago. He said that from Planet X, or Planet 7X, he uses that term, that the wave of, he says it's creating the wave of energy that you're talking about. That wave of energy is creating a warp. It's warping the asteroids, causing them to actually sending the asteroids in our path. That the reason there's more asteroids in our path is we're in this galactical belt, and the reason we're in it is because the wave of energy is warping these. He uses the term warping, or moving these asteroids into our path at accelerated rates more than we would be normally going through. What is your take on the effects of the asteroids? Because again, yesterday we had another one. We had another asteroid that come less than 100,000 miles from the Earth. We didn't know it was there. NASA spotted it about 3 hours before it got here. Okay, and they threw it up there, gave it a name. It whizzed by at a 0.4 LD. So, what's going on?
In the month of April, that's when we're going to discuss some of those things, because in the month of April, to my understanding, it will be trackable by astronomers in the month of April.
What's trackable?
So in the month of April, that will be a perfect time to have a discussion on what's being seen in the heavens in the month of April.
What's trackable in the month of April?
Well, you'll notice a lot of debris, a lot of almost like a cloud in space will be trackable in that month with large sets of debris. Okay. That will be coming in, and that will be a perfect time to have a conversation over the dynamics of this, because still there are certain things in the heavens that do not follow celestial mechanics, and so that's going to be painfully obvious in the months to come, because they don't follow celestial mechanics. Their orbit is too wide, and they do not follow what people think they do. So that will be a prime time to discuss those things. But even before April, we still have to get past these man-made issues in the world, and the oil could run scarce. That's troubling. And so you're going to see a lot of fuel deliveries taking place, because the oil, when that disappeared, and when the gas disappeared, as you may or may not know, that shocked a lot of people.
Yeah, I don't know about it. I don't know where that happened. I just don't have a clue. I don't know. Canada? I don't have a clue.
I'm sure that you'll see the money exchanges in oil, and a lot of some people are going to be denied orders when they order fuel for jet aircraft, things of that nature. There's going to be a large denial there. You're also going to notice Russia and Iran increasing deals. Listen, because they know if the fuel runs out, well then, that's going to be the end of that, right?
Right.
How can you launch aircraft if there's no fuel? What can you do?
You can't. You just can't.
That's right.
So there's going to be a crisis. It sounds like an oil crisis, which is being caused, I take it, because of the magma that's shifting in the earth, consuming some large pockets of oil. I know the Iranians just announced that, and I can't remember which month it is, that they are going to stop using U.S. dollars in purchasing of their oil. They are going to only buy oil, or when they sell oil, they're only going to receive, for selling their oil, euros. They're not going to take any more U.S. dollars, and they have set that date, and I think it's within 3 or 4 months. They're no more U.S. dollars. It's going to be euros only, and that in itself is a shift. I mean, when you shift away from the U.S. currency, why in the world would you do? I mean, other than you don't like us, that's not the reason. So what's going on with that, Mike?
Well, I pray everybody has an understanding behind that many things will shift away from U.S. anything. See, this is when we're caught in the fight for our lives. I mean, really, all the diplomatic solutions have failed. There's no solvency to some of the problems out there. And the United States of America is we have real issues. And some of these things are hints to what we're going to face this year. Not next year, this year. This year. Next year will take care of itself. This year is the year where we're going to have to stand up. We're going to have to become ask for understanding from above, that we may be a part of things going on in this world.
Do you see a war? Do you see
it's just not going to be good.
Do you see a Middle Eastern war breaking out? A war in the Middle East? Certainly, we would.
Well, I don't see how it will not be. I think that many nations are going to make their move. They are going to make their move. And Trump they're going to have to make their move because Trump is in office. That's a fact. They're not going to wait for him to come over with large-scale force to subdue them. No, that's not what's going to happen. They're going to have to make their move.
Are you saying that because,
going to have to.
When you say because Trump is in office, because you know that Trump is going to beef up our military presence, and that's his big deal. He's been saying is, hey, I want to make the U.S. military so strong that nobody wants to mess with us. And I want to make sure that we're in position and you just don't want to mess with us. So you're saying is they got to strike before he gets it built up, before he gets strategically in position, before Mad Dog puts all the pieces in place to prevent an attack on America. If they're going to attack America or attack American interests, they better hit while it's still weak or been weakened. We're not weak, but we've been weakened by the Obama administration. So you're saying this is a big year.
Yeah, it really is. And one of the deals of the Obama administration was not to have a war in the Middle East because that's what the radical Islamic folks wanted. It's inevitable. You can't have a policy like that, not to go to war with them because that's what they want. That's like, children playing with large-scale weapons. We're going to have to go over there and do something and begin to monitor things. But we've lost our foothold, which we should have never done. And Turkey's going to turn directly against us. They're against us. They're not for us. Pakistan
I know
is
that.
against us, not for us.
I know.
All of our allies are against us, not for us.
Yeah, it's really, you can't trust this. You can't trust the Saudi Arabians either. You can't trust you can't trust Turkey. No way in this world. So again, you're back, and I think that's why we see Theresa May. I think it's why we see Theresa May at the United Kingdom showing up here right away, locking arms with Donald Trump, the United States. Trump saying, "Look, you can get this Brexit thing going. I'll tell you how to unwind these agreements." And get out of the EU and start locking arms with us because this is a geopolitical world that is shifting, and I mean kingdoms are shifting fast. It's one of the things Jesus said would happen. There would be wars and rumors of wars. There would be nations rise against nations, but the big one is kingdoms against kingdoms. And that's what we're witnessing, Mike. It looks as if the spiritual kingdoms are playing out, and everybody's going into this. Going to go figure out which side you're on. You're going to have to figure out which side you're on quick.
Yeah, they're in the valley of decision. They really are. Europe is a place that, if you watch Europe closely, and because it's going to be, before they hit us, they will have to hit Europe. So the UN will be under a type of assault. And that's why it's beefed up. It was beefed up prior to Trump coming in office because it's very easy to see that battle plan. They will attempt to destroy Europe, and that's coming.
Well, and that's already going on, Mike. The immigration policy, it's from within. Europe is in trouble. I mean, France, Belgium, Germany, and just everybody else in Europe is in trouble because they don't know what to do. They can't control the enemy from within. When 1,000 men can get off of a train on New Year's Eve, 1,000 Muslim men, and start sexually assaulting and raping and attacking women right in the street, and nobody can do anything about it, you've already been eaten alive from the inside. I mean, it's already there. The enemy's in the camp.
Yeah, and guess what? A lot of people don't remember what Putin said just, 2 months ago. He said that certain U.S. policies have made it unavoidable for large-scale war. And that has to do with NATO. See, Putin does not like NATO.
Right.
NATO is standing against Putin, and we should be standing against the Middle East. But Merkel began that.
I know.
Because things backfired on her. She did what she did for the sake of money and for the sake of the name of that country, and it backfired. Now that they're in there, you can't get them out. You can't get them out because you don't know who's coming in.
Yeah.
And now they're building up NATO forces because they certainly are target number one. And so Putin said, we made a foolish decision with NATO because now things are unavoidable. This is Putin's mindset. Now, he can see it coming too, this buildup of forces, because no one is going to be bullied by the U.S. And Putin stands again. That would just be like if somebody came to your house and bullied you according to your house. Well, you're not going to take that. You're not going to have that happen.
No.
Right? So that when you provoke another country, if you provoke another country, they're going to stand up.
Right.
That is what has happened with Russia, and that's why they paint him in such a bad light. Right? And they
horrible.
openly say, oh, yeah, we like Putin. They won't say that. But in the end, all these little lies will be exposed.
Well, here's what's happening.
War will have ensued.
Amen. Here's what you see every night. If you turn on the mainstream, lamestream, fake news media, there are two individuals on this planet. They are absolutely despised by the American propaganda mass media. Two. Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump. Those two men are literally despised by our media. I did not stutter. I did not say Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. I did not say Kim Jong-un. I did not say Angela Merkel and the policies she's brought into Europe. You can name anybody else you want. The two people on this planet that are hated more than any two other people on the earth is Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump, according to the U.S. mainstream media. That in itself should make everyone stop and say, wait a minute, who in the world is instructing this crowd at CNN and MSNBC and ABC and everywhere else? How in the world can these be the two worst people in the world when these guys are chopping off heads? These guys are running around blowing up buildings, blowing up people in the marketplace. I mean, how can the evil be? What are they doing? This is, and I guess that's why we're here right now. Why we're here, Mike, talking about this, because this is absolute ludicrous to see this going on before our very eyes.
Yeah, it is. You know what's even worse is that now all things are under the Father's watchful eye.
Right.
But he did say that he would draw all men down to the valley of Jehoshaphat.
Yes, he did.
Said that.
Yeah, he did.
Spiritually, that must happen first, right? First. So everybody right now is contemplating on one or two things, and this is where a conflict exists. To either follow the ways of Christ or to follow the ways of the world. And here's what I mean by that. Those who follow the ways of Christ will execute things according unto Christ, but it will become so desperate that a person will be drawn either fully to Christ or fully to the world under great duress. Right? It will happen under great duress. So you see a moment of duress coming upon the whole face of the earth. And this is going to be the choice that will cause some to be given over to a strong delusion right before the revealing of that man of perdition. The falling away must happen first.
Yep.
Well, in order to fall away, you must either choose Christ in truth or the world.
That's what's happening.
Anything in truth.
That's what's happening right now.
And it must happen under pressure.
Yeah, because right now, the man of sin, it says there must come a falling away first before that man of sin is revealed. All right. The man of sin has not been revealed yet, but the falling away has begun. In other words, you have to choose. Yeah. You have to choose. And you have to start. People are starting to make that choice. It's already happening right now. It's happening. People are drawing the line and saying either you're going to stand for what's right, and I'm not saying you're the most perfect Christian in the world, but you're going to have to start deciding, are you on the Lord's side or are you on the other side? That where every ungodly thing goes, and it seems like that's what you're seeing is this. There's no gray area here. You got to figure out which side you're on.
That's right, because they're standing in the streets in opposition. You know what they're saying?
Yeah.
They're saying out of their own mouths, we want peace. But see, their definition of peace is called compromise. We want everybody to do what they want to do so that nobody's against anybody. That is not peace.
That won't work.
That's called destruction.
Yeah, that won't work.
That's destruction. Right, that is called death. But so who's going to be the standard bearer? This is what we're seeing. Who's going to be the standard bearer? And I tell you that many people have chosen already because the pressure will become so high that what we truly are is coming straight to the surface. Yeah. But in the near future, Pastor, we're going to see some political upsets beyond belief. And it's going to be very difficult to understand because we've been used to, very soft speech. Right? Nobody's used to hard speech, which is truthful speech. Nobody's used to that. They're used to opinions. They're used to everybody being right, even if you're wrong. They're used to
everybody gets a trophy.
And all that's fading away.
Yeah, everybody gets a trophy. Everybody's a winner. It's okay. I'm not judgmental. We're going to be fine. Everything's going to be okay. And the world stage, and what you're saying is that's over with because you're going to have to decide which side you're on. And matter of fact, the Brexit was really the start of people standing up and saying, we're not going to take it no more. Okay? So the British are leaving the EU, and they know this is the best move for them. And they're wondering, why in the world did we ever get in there in the first place? They were seduced into it. They were deceived into it. The United States rises up and says, we're voting in Trump. We got to stop the foolishness. We got to stop the bleeding. We got to turn the country around. I understand there's other countries, elections are coming, and the same movement is taking place where the people are tired of the lies, and there's a movement to turn it around to get things in a truthful manner. We're going to see some serious changes in world leadership coming on, but there's also going to be some that are going to go completely the opposite direction and are going to be promoting evil to the highest levels. I think we're going to see this tremendous confrontations on its way. I mean, it's biblical prophecy. It's on its way.
All nations are effectively split right now. Just like we talked prior to these elections, that America would be split based upon regardless of the outcome of the election, America was going to be split. And right now, America is split. And that's why Christians have to stand up and proclaim the good news. The Christians are the peacemakers. But guess what? If we don't establish truth, not compromise, then we're not peacemakers. No. We're just allowing zombies to walk. The living dead is what you see in the world.
Oh, I know.
But we are to introduce life, not more death. But to that peace, men will call for peace and safety, and we all know what happens.
Sudden destruction. Sudden destruction.
That's right. Now, it didn't say those people were good or bad. It said when they say peace and safety. It didn't say if they were good people or bad people, but when they say it, then we know sudden destruction falls upon this world. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And so guess what they're saying right now? Everything they do, key words, they're looking for peace and security.
Yeah. It's not
peace and security. And so we hear the words being uttered.
Yep.
The question is, I guess, what are we going to do about it?
Even Jesus said these words. You say I come to bring peace. Nay, I come to bring division. Because he comes to bring truth. It wasn't that Christ wanted division, but he knew that by bringing forth truth, division would happen. Mike, give me the final words. Folks, Mike from around the world, his website, of course, COT. Again, keeping us informed. Mike and told us about the 5 waves of energy 4 years ago, way ahead of now NASA admitting that we have gamma rays of energy, and now people are identifying these waves on the magnetosphere and other ways of calculating. Radiation, Mike, last year 12.5% higher than the year before. It's happening, isn't it? It's happening.
Yeah, it is. And it will become painfully obvious in the years to come. But I encourage everybody to remember this. The Lord will never suffer the righteous to be moved. Amen. The world can be moved, but his righteous will not be moved. And through Christ, we are the righteousness of Christ if we truly follow Christ. Right?
Amen.
So I would just encourage everybody, if you're following Christ, you don't have your own steps, which means the steps of a righteous man are ordered of the Lord. But if we order our own steps, we're not following Christ. His power, his miracles, and everything else follows those who follow behind him. And I would just encourage everybody to find him. Find him for yourself, not based upon, everybody else's words, but find him for yourself, that you're truly following him.
Mike from around the world. Mike, thank you so much for being with us today. We'll have you back on. We're going to watch it. It's going to jump sometime in February. We're going to see this jump on the wave of energy to 3 or 4, and certainly there's going to be a reaction. And so it's the calm before the storm is what I'm hearing you say. This is the calm before the storm. God bless you, brother.
Yeah, keep your eye on Italy.
Yes, we will.
God bless you.
God bless. Amen. Mike from around the world, powerful words of truth.